You just gotta love the fact that after 20 plus years, World of Warcraft is still the king. No other game came even close, and we're about to discover why.
Playing MMOs for a long time, long enough to watch
Gonna be a
what
good one,
feels
boys.
like every next big MMO rise out of nowhere, get hyped to the moon, promise to dethrone World of Warcraft,
And then crashes
either
to the
quietly
ground.
die, collapse in drama, or just kind of limp along while people talk about how cool the game is, even though they haven't played it in a while.
Because they're coping out of their minds. Of course, there is always this phase when a new MMORPG comes to life. Everyone goes like, oh my god, this is the WoW killer! You know, the hype phase. And then I play the game and nobody likes it because it's actually garbage. But people are still trying to cope and say that the game is good because, you know, they want to believe that this is real, but it is in fact not real and very untrue. And then they gotta accept their fate as the game just slowly dwindles and the player base just go whoop, and everyone just quits and nobody talk about this game anymore.
And that pretty much sums up New World for me. I installed it, had fun with it for a couple
Absolutely.
weeks,
I was
and
about to
just
say New
kind of
World.
stopped playing. Now, that's not the
But
first
it was kind of a
MMO I've
low-hanging
done that
fruit.
with.
Didn't wanna
I've done
go
it with
there.
most of them, in fact. But now that Amazon is pulling away from video games, it seems like New World's days are numbered, and that makes me kind of sad. Yet another MMO that has
And the thing is, with New World, everyone wants to pretend that the thing that killed this game was the lack of development and the bugs that were, you know, so early on, which definitely contributed to the fact, I'm not gonna lie, like the bugs early on. If you played New World when it was released, dude, there were so many dupes and glitches, it was insane. You could have gotten other players banned because you gave them items that shouldn't be in their inventory somehow. It was crazy. There was like a mass issue with this game. It was actually insane. The code made by, I don't know, like the worst AI imaginable probably. But regardless, I think that the core idea of New World is just garbage, and that's why the game died. Nobody's willing to admit it, but nobody, and I literally mean 0 players wants to play a PvP PvE server. It's garbage. Nobody wants that. People want total separation between PvP and PvE. And I know people are gonna hate me and dislike this video for saying that, but this is the truth. Nobody likes that. Everyone likes that separation, and you can see like a really good example of it with World of Warcraft. Because nobody likes playing PvP servers in World of Warcraft because nobody wants to get ganked. And what end up happening on PvP servers in World of Warcraft is that they were either heavily Horde side or heavily Alliance side, because nobody wanted to play in the losing side, so everyone just went to the winner side, and it's like you played on a PvE server. It didn't matter. That's what ended up happening on almost every single server except streamer servers, which are a unique example because streamers are cultivating these audience that actually contributes to the server health. But the downside of that is that if the said streamers quit, the server dies. And it did happen.
had potential, had some fun moments, and then just kind of evaporated. It's becoming
nobody
a
likes
genre-defining pattern at this point. MMOs launch, they get a wave of excitement, you see a couple videos calling it the next WoW killer, and then players try it, leave, and 6 months later, most of us are back playing WoW or Final Fantasy 14 like nothing happened. So at some point,
and the only MMOs that exist and thriving on the market are MMOs that are completely different from World of Warcraft, just like Final Fantasy 14 and Guild Wars 2. They are the only thriving MMOs. Every MMO that directly tried to compete with WoW failed miserably.
you have to ask, why is it so hard to make a successful MMO? Why do so many fail, and how is it possible that after all these years, we're all still basically playing the same 2 or 3 games?
Yep.
That's what I want to break down today. Not as a game dev, not as a market analyst.
And also RuneScape. I know I don't talk about RuneScape a lot. I just kind of figure out that everyone knows by this point that RuneScape is kind of goated, but I should have mentioned that for sure.
But as someone who has lived in this genre for decades and
I'm
watched
always
the
assuming
cycle
that.
repeat over and over and over and
over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Okay, Clay, I get the point.
No, you don't.
And I think that the answer is actually pretty simple.
How is that?
Not easy, but simple. MMOs don't die for one reason. They die because 3 major forces pull them apart at the same time. The first is corporate expectations, greed, over monetization, or bad priorities.
Yep.
Second is developer problems, bad design, bad scope, bad decisions, or just not knowing what they're doing.
That is the main issue. I think even if you make the most heavily microtransaction MMO out there, but it will be actually good, people will play it. It will be popular. Because I think at this point, people are so goddamn desperate that they will play anything as long as it is good. And you can see a clear example of that with Ashes of Creations. Or, sorry, Ashes of Donation. Am I right, boys? Can we please clap like seals now? Because I said the thing that you guys wanted to hear. But, this is truth. Regardless whether you like it or not, Ashes of Creations currently takes so much money from the player base over nothing, and people gobble it up. So that people will pay for a good MMO to play. You know that. Even if it will be heavy monetary and, man, it's gonna be heavy on the pocket, people will play it as long as it is fun.
And of course, last, this might be the most controversial, but it's player behavior. Min-max culture, toxicity, unrealistic demands, and burnout loops.
But this is not everyone, man. And this video is like almost 2.5 minutes in, and I paused like 7 times. But really, I have so much to talk about this topic. I just have to. So yeah, without yapping too much, I mean, yes, it's true what he's saying. I think min-max culture has definitely killed some audiences in MMORPGs. I hate the fact that everything is data mined and, just run to the ground before the patch even out. I completely agree with that, but developers can negate that, for sure. And also, you need to keep in mind that these are just a fraction of people, and the majority don't really care about that. So once again, the min-maxers are one thing, and, then you have, like, the casuals on the complete other side of the scale. You want to aim to the 70 and 80% people in the middle. That's where you want to aim.
If even one of those areas is mishandled, an MMO suffers. If 2 fail, the game is in trouble. And if all 3 fail, congratulations. Your MMO is now a Steam mixed review relic.
Ooh.
So let's walk through each one from the top down, which means we're going to start with the corporate side.
You haven't logged in today, boy. Oh, I'm back. Had to go there for a sec, boys.
MMOs are one of the riskiest types of games you can make. High cost, huge teams, long development cycles, tons of content required up front, constant updates, live service maintenance, server costs.
But why?
Well, to be fair, this is an idea that was reinforced in the last decade. If you actually think about it and you look at vanilla World of Warcraft for an example, you can just play the game and then just quit for a couple of months until a new patch come out. And nowadays, I think the problem is so many games are trying to keep you hooked constantly, and that's where the major issue comes from. Because games needs to learn how to let you go. Because whenever they let you go, you're gonna miss the game, and the longevity is going to be better. But nowadays, companies and corporates and guys in suits, they don't really care about long-term investment. They want the short-term money. And yeah, I mean, that's how unfortunate reality is. And that's why we get all of these systems that constantly makes you log into the game daily. And, all of the stuff that we hate in current MMO sphere. But to be fair, it's not even only MMOs. It's literally in every game nowadays, which is just unfortunate.
Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
It's basically the worst business model unless it succeeds, in which case it becomes a money printer for the next 10 to 20 years. So from day one, the pressure is less about making a great game and more about making a game that is profitable enough to justify existing. And that's why you see over-monetized games, monthly subs plus...
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily true. World of Warcraft was very profitable back when it was the king. I mean, all the way from Classic until Wrath of the Lich King, right? From Vanilla to the Wrath of the Lich King, it was very profitable. Even Cataclysm. And, even further than that, because the name kind of carried the franchise over and over again until it just ran dry. But to like Cataclysm, the game was goated and it made a lot of money. So it's not really true. I think it's just the corporate want to nickel and dime you doing as less amount of work possible. So they don't only cut cost on, players, they're cutting cost on employees. And that's why they're getting to save money from both ends. So, again, it is what it is.
Cash shops, paid expansions,
I don't think it's
plus
worth it,
paid
but
cosmetics,
who knows?
pay to skip, pay to progress, pay to win, pay for convenience.
Hello, I like money.
That's also why
Classic.
so many MMOs are designed around engagement instead of being designed around fun. The problem isn't that MMOs are trying to make
Oh my
money,
God.
because of course they are. Problem also isn't that they want to keep you engaged, because of course they should. But far too often these things get in the way of the player's experience. You know, actually having fun with the product that they paid for.
No.
That's where the problem comes in. I always think back to
No.
the mission tables in World of Warcraft.
Having
You know,
fun.
the classic send your followers out on missions for several
Yes.
hours and then come back
I
and
love
collect the
Draenor.
rewards later.
I
mean,
love
even though
Draenor.
you weren't
Say it
actually
together,
doing
boys.
anything, Blizzard saw these 5-minute login windows.
And the best part, you could have done all of this from your phone. What a time to be alive. I absolutely adore Blizzard. Thank you. Please, just, I want more of this. I don't know why so many people have quit the game at the time, but man, it was fun.
As good engagement. So good that they kept these stupid things around for 4 expansions. And that
Incredible.
mindset kills a game over time, because it creates systems that feel like chores, not adventures.
What makes a game great is the gameplay.
Damn, Angry
Is it
Joe
fun to
show.
play or is it a boring chore?
Daily time gates,
Olé.
FOMO events, currencies on top of currencies on top of currencies, log in or fall behind, come back or lose progress, play now or
Maybe it's only me, but whenever I see a game with daily login rewards, I just quit. I don't have time for this, man. I'm too old for this. I had enough. I just, you know, I'm not what I'm used to be. What I used to be, right? I'm old. I'm decrepit. My bones are off. Like, man, I had enough. I just had enough.
miss out forever. That's not a game, that's a job with loot drops.
Yep.
Sooner or later, unchecked corporate greed becomes too much, because the more you squeeze players, the faster they quit. The more you nickel and dime them, the more they check out emotionally. And once a player disconnects from a world, it's over, and MMOs live or die on emotional connection. WoW survived in spite of Blizzard's monetization, not because of it. Final Fantasy XIV survived because Yoshida literally rebuilt the game around respecting the player, not exploiting them. Corporate decision making is the number one killer of MMOs, because you might treat the game like a product, which is indeed what it is.
Don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next product.
But in order for it to succeed, the customer, your players, need to see it as a living world.
Man, I had to throw it out there, but the fact that literally every video nowadays uses the Claire Obscure Expedition 33 soundtrack just goes hard. I love that. The game, it's gotta win Game of the Year. It's literally the best game I've ever played in my entire life. It's so good.
Which leads us to the second layer, the developer problem, aka, why does your MMO suck? Even if you have a reason.
Because developers are millennials nowadays, and millennials have absolutely no idea how to make a good game. And it is what it is. It's one of the worst things about growing up in an area where everything around you was so good that you haven't experienced anything that makes you write a good story. You can never make a good story when all that you had growing up as a child is just flower and happiness and, you know, I don't know, TV, right? And, you know, friendship. I mean, it sounds really bad, but it is true. Because if you look at the older, like, at older times, people that experienced war and all of that stuff came up with the best stories. And the best example I can give you is J.R.R. Tolkien, right? He created the most amazing stories imaginable because he's been through literal war. He was a soldier. So it's crazy how developed his mind was compared to like the current day millennial. They just suck. All they do is purchase Labubus, and that's pretty much it. They're just cooked. We can't have a good story, and we can't have a good gameplay and cool characters. I mean, we don't have cool characters anymore. If you watch every single game that came out, not necessarily an MMO, just any game that came out, the character design in all of these games that are Western based are trash. All the character design is out of the window. All we got that is really, really good came from Eastern game developers.
Reasonable business model, and MMO still has to survive the people making it. And the harsh truth is,
and I mean, again, sorry for pausing constantly, but I look at current World of Warcraft. What are these characters? Again, I don't want to call Blizzard out, but I'm gonna do it anyway. This is a World of Warcraft video. But the current characters, they're so weak and spongy. What the hell happened to Turalian, dude? What is this? And what is this thing they did with Tyrion, rest in peace, in Legion? He died at the beginning like a rat. What the hell was that? And also the Illidan becoming good thing. Bro, we loved Illidan when he was Chad and base. I think the only character they haven't butchered to the ground was actually Garrosh, which I have to admit, in Shadowlands, story was trash, but the way Garrosh went out was insane. It was crazy. He basically said F everyone and just completely dipped. That was dope. I like that. That was actually one last hurrah, and it was good. I'll give them kudos for that, like, for sure.
A lot of studios just don't know
One good
how
thing,
to
Lily.
design a good MMO.
You know, you read what others had done, and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something
Ooh,
fast.
that was such a...
And before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well,
Some aren't
This scene was so good. When you watch this movie as a kid, you don't really care for it. You kind of want to see the dinosaur stuff. But when you grow up and you rewatch that film, this scene is the best one in the movie, for sure.
experienced enough, some don't understand player
was so
psychology,
clever.
some just copy WoW and hope for the best, and some, like Wildstar for instance, listen too much to a
And they don't even copy old WoW, they copy current WoW, and then they don't understand why they failed. If you copy literally old World of Warcraft, you will succeed 100%, because that's what people want. And you can kind of look at Wildstar for an example, and I'm a Wildstar player, right? Like back in the day when it was new and fresh. The game wasn't good. The game wasn't even remotely close to classic. They took the base game and they wanted to improve it, but the direction they went in wasn't good. So that's why the game failed. But if you literally go in a classic plus direction rather than something, you know, new age, I think you'll do fine for yourself. I think your game will explode. But nobody's willing to take that risk because everyone thinks it's too old and outdated.
very small portion of their audience. Wildstar is one of the clearest case studies in
Oh my
designing
God,
an MMO
dude,
for 1%
I haven't
of
pre-watched
players.
this.
They made the game for the sweaty, hardcore
That's
raider
crazy,
crowd.
actually.
They listened to Reddit and private discords and
Yeah.
speedrunners, and surprise, 99% of players bounced because the game literally wasn't designed for them.
Absolutely.
New World kind of had
They had 14 player raids. Nobody can pull off 14 people raid anymore. And even back in the day, it was an impossibility. But back in the day, they didn't know better. That's the difference. Wildstar knew better and they still chose to do this, which is crazy to me.
the opposite issue. They didn't listen to feedback enough or implemented it too slowly. They had big ideas, but bad execution. A great world, but not always the best combat. Great atmosphere, but no long-term glue. Black Desert, amazing combat. Terrible everything
dude.
else unless you're okay with
Everything
mobile
else
game
is
level
completely
monetization.
garbage. I
Elder
played that.
Scrolls Online, it's okay, I
No,
guess, but
it's
I always
horrendous.
just kind of felt like it was the worst version of Elder Scrolls.
Absolutely. It's just a reused garbage with the same engine and like nobody could care for it. It was absolutely disgusting.
Ideas
trailers,
might
though.
look good on paper or sound smart in meeting rooms, but fall apart the second real players touch them. And here's a harsh truth that nobody in the industry likes to admit. Most game devs do not actually play MMOs the way normal people do. They either play internally like an insulated power player, listen
Yep.
to the no-life top 5%, or treat player feedback like noise. And on the flip side, if they listen too much to players, they get dragged in 10 directions at once. Players contradict each other constantly. Players think they know what they want until they get it.
I completely agree with this take. He's absolutely 100% right here. Being a game developer for an MMORPG has got to be one of the most difficult things ever because you do have conflicting opinions about literally every topic whatsoever. But this where objectivity needs to come into play. So I say that developers need to play their own game and they need to do it from a fresh account that doesn't have any ties to the game or admin settings, any of that. Just literally play the game and disconnect yourself. And I think that's what most video game companies today lack. They don't play their own games. They just listen to feedback and they're kind of trying to understand what's right and what's wrong. But if they played their own game, they would have realized themselves what was true for the game and what was the right course of action and what was wrong. So that's basically all that it comes down to. Just developers not playing their own games anymore.
Classic WoW succeeded because Blizzard finally listened. It was pretty clear what players actually wanted. Nostalgia,
they didn't
friction,
want
community, identity, a slower pace, the classic experience. But I genuinely sympathize with them when it comes to Classic Plus, because there are far too many people that want too many different things, and no matter what they do, they simply won't be able to please everybody.
But you don't need to please everybody, you need to please the majority. You don't have to look at everybody for an example. You just literally need to please, again, 70 to 80% people in the middle, and that's it, you're good.
Good MMO design requires
And if you ask what do you need to do to pull these people into the game, Turtle WoW, that's it.
vision.
Literally
not
Turtle WoW.
pandering, not spreadsheets, not just make it like WoW but newer. Vision. And that's rare, which is why we haven't had a new genre-defining MMO in like 15 years. Now, this part might be a little bit controversial because I'm going to acknowledge a truth that few like to admit. Players ruin MMOs just as often as developers and corporations do. Not all players, but a very specific kind. And what I'm referring to is
Streamers.
the min-max culture that optimizes fun out of the game, the gatekeepers who kick new players for not knowing mechanics, the players who consume content in 24 hours and then complain there's no content, the people who think a game is bad if it doesn't reward them instantly, and people who turn every game into spreadsheets and DPS logs.
Absolutely, but these people have always existed. The thing is about MMOs that there is a home for everyone. There will always be a home for the min-maxers, and there will always be a home for the casuals. Now, you will, of course, same principle, you will always have a home for the people that in between, just like me, who plays semi-hardcore, I guess you can call it like that. And yeah, you will have home for anyone, but whenever you tailor a game mechanic to a specific group, that's where you lose players. So if you can manage to create a game that can have a home for everybody, which is what Classic World of Warcraft has done, maybe not for the too hardcore player base, but it kind of, you know, managed to hit that right spot in between all of them, I mean, you will have a good time.
And before someone says skill issue, let's be real. Most players aren't bad, they're just normal. They don't play 8 hours a day. They don't want to watch 6 hours of YouTube guides before queuing for a dungeon. And they don't want to be screamed at in a +5 because they didn't read an Icy Veins page. They just want to play a video game.
Absolutely.
But MMOs don't exist in a vacuum. They're social spaces. And if the social space feels hostile, elitist, impatient, or joyless, people leave. And who could blame them? This is why Final Fantasy XIV has the best reputation in the MMO genre for how it treats new players.
Absolutely.
Because new players are identified and assisted while the community is moderated and protected.
Absolutely. The company itself did a very good job in cultivating an audience that actually takes care of itself. So you have the mentor system and you have all of the things that follow along that rewards players for helping others. And also you have like the Sprout system where if you're a new player, you have like the Sprout icon and people are more incentivized to help you because they know that you're a beginner. And of course you have all of these things, the, you know, mounts and stuff they can give you as a new player or returning player, and a mentor. Of course, there's an entire system behind it. I'm not going to go like into the specific, but that's the gist of it. So it really helped cultivating a crowd of people that actually helps one another and have reasons to. So this was the great thing behind this.
You act like an ass, you get banned.
You're out of there!
Of course, moderation is
Go on.
also good.
You're gone.
Key, for sure.
Go on.
Meanwhile, in WoW, you join a random dungeon, you make one mistake,
You
someone
get clapped.
tells you to kill yourself while the group kicks you.
Oh my God.
And then both Blizzard and the community are scratching their heads wondering why new players don't stick around and they can't find tanks.
Dude, I hate this. Oh, this is so cringe. No.
You chose your own.
I can't watch this.
And don't
Bruh, this was so cringe. Oh my God, I cringed as hard as the day I watched it for the first time. Jesus, man, I love. Oh my God, dude. Oh, I love Garrosh so much. Why do they do him so dirty? I cannot. I cannot. At least they won't be doing it anymore.
Don't even get me started on the live service speedrun problem. Developers try to make content that lasts for 3 months and players no
Such a
life it in
lame
3
fight.
days. And then they go on Reddit and say, this game is dead. Then the devs panic update and the cycle repeats. You literally cannot design around people who treat a game like a job and then get mad that it feels like a job.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not
Best scene from The
that
Office.
way. I hate
Shame.
so much about the things that you choose to be.
So,
Oh man, he took the whole episode.
what would a successful modern MMO actually need? Well, it doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need 10 million players at launch or endless content. It just needs 3 things. A business model
Yep.
that respects players instead of draining them, developers
Absolutely.
with actual vision and competency, and a community that is moderated and shaped, not left to rot.
Absolutely, and also the point he made about having like tens of millions of people at launch. Launch doesn't say anything because World of Warcraft has grew significantly until like Cataclysm, I believe, right? So, I mean, the game can grow naturally. The fact that we are looking at today's statistics as, oh, every game has this one giant moment where it like burns bright and then everything goes down by 90%, which happens to almost every game nowadays, that's not true. I mean, if you build a good game alongside a community, it will see constant growth. So, and we've seen this with very few games, but we have seen this. So, for sure, we can make a good game that can actually grow its audience instead of losing lists.
That's it. That and a whole lot of luck. But you get the idea. Because if you do those 3 things well, you have a pretty good shot of being the next WoW or Final Fantasy 14 or hopefully something even better. Fail even one of them, and you get Wildstar, Rift, New World, Arc Age, Lost Ark in the West, and pretty much every Korean
I love the
cash
Lost
grab
Ark in the
MMO
West.
that lived and died in 6 months.
Yeah,
And
pretty
that's
much
the
everything.
real tragedy. MMOs could be one of the greatest genres in gaming. They're the closest thing we have to digital worlds. And I think many of us, from casual players to hardcore gamers, are secretly hoping for a breakthrough. But the genre is stuck because everyone involved keeps making the same mistakes. Corporations squeeze the player, developers copy instead of innovate, and players turn everything into a competition. And then we all wonder why the magic is gone. I don't think MMOs are dead. I think they're waiting for someone bold enough to build an MMO the right way. And when that game finally happens, it's probably not going to look like WoW. It might not even call itself an MMO. It'll just be one, a world worth existing in.
It has to be something different. I think people are tired of like the WoW, thing going on, which I'm not saying like the traditional thing are bad. I think people want something different because we had enough from Classic being released over and over and over again that we want something new. And this is where, again, Ashes of Creation kind of comes into play because this is the brand new thing that actually seems to be relatively successful. But again, I don't really believe in Ashes of Creation. I think this game is going to flop, but hey, may only be just me.
Till then,
but let's wait for it
wait.
to end, and actually I'll
we
say my last
reinstall
thing.
WoW or Final Fantasy 14 again, and we tell ourselves maybe the next one will be it. Those are my thoughts, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
Let me know what your take is.
Yeah, great video. Man, I turned this video so long. This was a 14 minutes video and I turned it in like almost an hour. Jesus, man, I yapped for so long. But it just goes to show how important this topic is to me. I mean, it's so frustrating that the only MMO that I play is from 20 plus years ago. It is truly abysmal thing to think about. And it's just unfortunate because, I chewed this gum for so long, it lost all taste. And I'm just getting tired, man. That's why I started making PoE content and why I went into PoE, which was actually a blessing in disguise because I love this game to death. It's so damn good. But it's annoying because I'm an MMO player at heart. So I really want a good MMO and I'm not getting what I want to, what my heart yearns for. And this just frustrates me, man. I mean, I really wish there would be one good developer that would actually take matters into his own hands and, get the experience that we deserve. And I know some of you are screaming at the screen right now, Steven, Ashes of Creation is gonna be great, you're just a hater. Bro, I look at the current trends and I don't like what I'm seeing, okay? 10 years in development almost. You just take money from your player base, from your fan base, whatever, right? The game is not even close to being released. All the characters look trash and everything is just bad and pretty generic. So I look at that and I'm just gonna assume that the game is not going to be good. At least, you know, from what I'm seeing in the direction where stuff are going. But, you know, maybe just me, right? It is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much said all that I had to say. Again, it just, man, this topic just hits way close to home. I really wish there would be a good MMO for me to play because I can't wait to get immersed in a world once again. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever get a good story. The only good story in an MMORPG that I would like stake my money on maybe is Riot MMO, and even that has so much like mist covering it, you can't really tell what the game is even going to be like because they're not talking about it. It's so well hidden, which may be a good thing, depends. We have to wait for the future and see for ourselves. But yeah, I mean, the only good lore right now is Runeterra lore, which will be again in the Riot future MMO. But right now we don't know anything, so I can't even say that really.